Hey everyone, welcome to Jesse's Cookie Club, a video series where I bake up one of my favorite cookie recipes of all time and call up the bakers responsible for them. Today I am calling up Edd Kimber to make his Brownie Crinkle Cookies, which are just so fudgy and so beautiful, so let's give him a call. Hey Ed.
Hello.
Thank you for doing this. Your cookies are like the best chocolate cookies I've ever made. I make them constantly, you know this. I feel like a pretty cookie is cracked. If a cookie doesn't crack, I think it looks horrible and they're shiny. And I feel like these are just like my definition of like the prettiest cookie there is. I think it like generally is the prettiest cookie I've ever baked in my life. How did you come up with the recipe? Because I feel like I've seen it before, but yours is like the first time I've seen it super honed in.
It was a few things. So I wanted to make a brownie crinkle cookie. I'd made a bunch of the kind of Christmas snowball cookies where you roll them in powdered sugar. And I love those, but they're much denser. And I wanted something that was much more like a brownie cookie that was super fudgy, but had that shine, but also didn't then need refrigerating for 4 hours. Literally make it and bake it, and it's out of the oven within half an hour. It's slightly finicky because of the timing, but if you followed the steps and you use really good quality ingredients, it never fails.
Okay, so I'm doing like the first step, which is melting the butter and the chocolate together. So it seems like temperature is like very important to this recipe, or am I wrong?
No, you're totally right. Once you've melted that butter and chocolate, it gets left off the heat for 5 minutes. And that way you're guaranteed to get that really nice texture. But also one thing that I found out that never actually made it into the recipe was the type of chocolate you have to use. So the recipe is really popular in India, and there's always something slightly unusual about the look of them. And I used to get tons of messages from people asking why they didn't look the same, and it was because they were using compound chocolate. One of the reasons of the shine is because of cocoa butter, and so you have to use a chocolate that is really good quality and made with cocoa butter, not a compound chocolate, not a candy melt, but real high quality chocolate.
That's crazy. So the cool thing about your recipe is you kind of like timed it too. So like by the time the next step is done, that's gonna be like the perfect temperature.
Yeah, I think that was kind of happy accident. You can probably whisk the eggs for a little bit less or a little bit more, but 5 minutes is the kind of requirement for the chocolate. So the eggs are happy to go for 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll set a timer for 5 minutes.
Exactly 5 minutes, yeah. It will work, I guarantee it. This is the one day it won't work.
Okay, so it's on low speed now. So
yeah.
I'll start adding this guy.
Also, the temperature of the chocolate is also important for the spread. If the temperature's off, if it's too hot or too cold, you can affect how much it spreads. So sometimes I've seen people make these and they just completely flatten. And that's normally because the timing and the temperature of that chocolate's not been followed. So you have to work quite quickly once it's made.
Like there's a reason you wrote all this like details?
Yeah, because I'm slightly nerdy and obsessive.
So this is what it looks like.
I mean, it is literally making a brownie recipe. There's basically no real difference. It's really nice and straightforward.
So I added the dry.
Yeah.
And I'm mixing that in. If someone is making this for the first time and they like don't watch your video or they're like unfamiliar, it almost feels wrong when you're scooping it. You're like, why is this not like cookie dough consistency?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons I called it a brownie, is I wanted to kind of, because it feels to me very much like a brownie batter, the recipe. And I think if you kind of have that in your mind rather than having like a cookie dough, then it makes more sense, because you're right, it feels much too liquid and too gooey to be a normal cookie dough, but it bakes off perfectly, hopefully.
Okay, so I sprinkled these with flaky sea salt, and I was very heavy-handed as usual. Okay, so these just came out.
They look perfect.
Thank you so much, Ed, for doing this. Everyone needs to go to Ed's website to get this recipe and make them ASAP. And thank you for bringing them into my world.
My pleasure. I appreciate that massively. See you later. Bye.